In the past, when I've greased my bearings or jacked my wheels up, a lot of people have said, I wish I would have showed how you jack the trailer up. So I'm going to do that first, then I'm going to grease my bearings, and I'm going to show you a couple of little tips on that. All you really need to jack your trailer up is, I got this 4x6. I bought like an 8-foot piece or something and cut them up. I got them before lumber prices went up. This damn thing is probably worth $1,000 now. A little bit of exaggeration there. And I use this just to kind of distribute the load on these cheesy axles, but that's just what I do. So really that's all you need. And if your trailer's higher, well, you might need 2 blocks. You need to figure all that out ahead of time. One of the most important things about camping and pulling these trailers is have your tire tools exactly where you know. I keep a separate set of tools with the right socket, everything right there in that front compartment on my camper. I keep my jack in there, and I keep a what I call a cheetah pipe, which is just something to get some leverage. And you know, if I ever have to do a change on the highway, well, I know where everything's at. I've got everything I need to do it. But you know, I've never had to do it. And I've been towing trailers since I was in my 20s. And I think the reason why is because I pay very close attention to the tire pressure. And I talk to so many of my friends that say, well, I just, you know, I run, you know, 35, or I run this, or I do this, I do, you know, different techniques. But the simple answer to how much to run is stamped right on the side of these tires. And whatever that maximum pressure is, that's what you want to run. Don't worry about blowing that tire up. You're not going to blow that tire up from too much pressure. You know, because it's going to expand as you go down the road. You want to check your pressure when it's cold. But you'll damn sure blow it up if it gets low, overloaded. And it's easy to overload these damn tires because these trailer manufacturers make these things so close to the margin, the axles and the tire loads themselves. So I'm using Maxxis now, which so far so good. I like them. But anyway, so let me go ahead and put that up under the camper, and I'll show you exactly how I jack it up. The reason I like to do it this way is because I get both wheels at one time. You know, you don't have to do that. Some people use these other little gizmos where you can, you know, a little chalk that you can back up on and stuff. I've never done that. Guess I'm too old school. I just use, you know, the bottle jack and this sort of thing. But I'm sure that might work good, and if it does, and if it's faster, go for it. But this is the way I do it, particularly when you got, you know, when you want to do both tires at one time. So let me get that set up, and then I'll show you what it looks like under there. Okay, so I got a light set up under there. I hope you can see this, but there's the way I do it right there. There's no particular way you have to do it, other than you want to get on the frame. You don't want to jack from the axles, and if you bring it to a tire shop or something, they're going to stick their floor jack under there, and they're going to start cranking on the axle more than likely. So, you know, you need to watch them on that. Tell them what you want, not what they want to do, because they'll pick the easiest spot. This is not the easiest way to do it, but it's the only way to do it, is to go from the frame. Whether you use a bottle jack or whatever, that's up to you. So let's go ahead and start jacking here. I'm kind of spaced out. I think I got enough stroke. Okay, so there it is. It's jacked up, and you can see that the tires are off the ground. Somebody asked about brake adjustment. This one really is a little loose. I can hear it rubbing, but it wouldn't hurt to tighten it up a little. This one is, well, about the same. I just went through all of these bearings and repacked them, and I changed some magnets and stuff on the brakes. I haven't lubed these things, or I've lubed them every year with a grease gun, which I'm fixing to do. But I have never torn them down until this year. And this is a 2014, made in late 2013. I know a lot of people would argue with that and say, man, don't do that. I'll show you some pictures of what they look like when I tore them down. One of the key things about doing this is, and a lot of people don't do it. I have a lot of friends that I camp with, and you know, they just don't know that you need to rotate this as you're greasing it. And the reason is two reasons. One is because the grease is coming out a little bitty hole back there, and if you don't rotate it, then the grease is just going to channel out one side of the two bearings. So by rotating it, you're distributing the grease, you know, throughout the entire bearing. So that's one reason. The other reason is, if you rotate it, you're taking some of the friction away from that. You know, as you pump that grease in, it's less likely to leak through that rear seal. Now, a lot of people would say, don't even do it this way. Pull them down and change them and pack them by hand. I don't personally do that. I do it this way. I've done it for years. These are the same original bearings when I tore them down. The only reason I tore them down really was because this particular one right here had a little bit of in-play in it, and so I wanted to check it. But the bearing was fine. So this is the way I do it. And you know, I've already done that, but pump some grease through your fitting, make sure that's all clean, wipe this off, and then rotate and grease slowly. And as long as you're rotating, and I'm just going to rotate and grease until I see some fresh grease coming out. The main thing is to use the same type of grease that you used before, the base, like lithium based, if that's what you used. A lot of trailer places say don't do what I'm doing. Dexter says do it this way. So why change if I don't need to? Also, if you go on a Dexter or whoever makes your axle, go on a website and see what kind of grease they recommend. There's a list of about probably 20 different greases, and just pick one. Alright, now we're starting to get some fresh grease out. You can see it coming there. And that's all I'm going to do on that one. I just want to verify that I've got everything greased. I'll probably go ahead and adjust that brake, because I don't hear it, and you need to really be able to hear it. Put the scrubber cap back in there. Okay. That's got it right there on that one. Other than it just does need a little bit of an adjustment, which I will do in a little while. Maybe we can make a video on that. That's it for that one. So I'm going to do the rest of them the exact same way. And that took a lot more than I thought, because that cavity in the middle was not full. So, but as long as you do that, you're not gonna break down that seal. I use original Dexter seals, and you know, I've already been to Florida with this rig here, so everything looked good. But when I left, these were adjusted properly. So apparently I've either worn them a little bit, And they do break. It does take a little bit to break them in. In fact, they don't work worth a shit until you break them in. You think they're not working at all, but they kind of glazed over, I guess, the new ones. Now, I didn't have to change the brake pads. I'll show them to you in a little while, but I did on some of them just because, as I said, I had them down. I wanted to do it, so I did it. Anyway, I'm going to do the rest and then we'll talk some more. So let me show you some pictures of my axles and whatnot here. And I realize this is a controversial subject. I mean, you can get on these forums and stuff, and you know, most of the time people say, oh, take them down every year and repack them and stuff. You could do that, and I don't have any problem with it. That's a personal opinion, and it's probably a very safe way to go. I don't personally see the point of having EasyLube axles if you're going to do that, but, you know, to each his own. Also, I mentioned 7 years. It's probably better to look at it in terms of mileage, which this is probably about 25,000 miles. You can see these brake shoes are, to me, about like new. The magnet looks good. Everything on this one looked pretty damn good. You can see there's no leakage on the rear seal. And I did change some hubs and axles here while I had it down, mostly as a precaution, and some of it I wasn't quite sure, to be honest, whether it was, you know, far enough gone to replace or what. So I took the high road and changed it out. This stuff is not very expensive, and you can get the whole kit that just comes in one assembly, and you really don't have to do anything but bolt it on. It's fooling with the bearings and the grease. That's the biggest mess. And as far as that goes, I did not have one bad bearing. All of my bearings were packed properly. The only reason I took this down in the first place is, like I mentioned, was because I had that little bit of in-play in one of them, and I just wanted to check it. I was getting ready to go to Florida. And there's a left and a right on these things. I'm not really pointing that out. But on this one, you can see that it looks like there was a little bit of leakage on that rear seal. You see how we got a little gummed up grease building up on some of the mechanism. Never enough to get into the brake shoes or anything like that. But, you know, full disclosure, it looks like this one did have a little bit of leakage. Now, Camping World, all of the local trailer places, everybody will tell you, oh no, don't pump that grease in like Dexter says. You got to bring this thing in every year and let us repack them. Well, yeah, if I owned a place that does that, yeah, I'd probably tell you that too. And there's other things that need to be considered, like, you know, how much load you got, what your axles are loaded at. Mine are loaded right to the max, within 200 pounds of the maximum load rating of the axle, which is to me ridiculous the way they build these campers. But that's, you know, that's another day for another rant. You can see where the electric magnet was rubbing on this one. I think this is one of them I replaced just because I wanted to do it. You know, that's what they recommend. Is I'll show you what a new one looks like in a minute. But I went ahead and replaced that. And of course, this is the brand new one. You can see there's no marks or anything on it. You know, whatever makes you sleep good at night, I think that's the way you got to go with these things. Me, I'm more worried about my bearings than I are some of this other stuff. And I'm pretty confident that pumping that grease in there that way and rotating that wheel and keeping that rear seal, as long as that rear seal is not leaking, I think you're in good shape, actually. And then lastly, here's one ready for the hub. Like I said, you can buy these things completely just like that. Bolt them on 4 bolts. Good to go. You don't have to, you know, fool with each individual part. Or you can buy each individual part. I took the lazy man's way and just replaced everything. So, that's about it, guys. I hope you get a little something out of this video. I'm certainly not trying to convince anybody to do anything one way or the other. I'm just showing you what I do and what I did and what the results were after about 25,000 miles. So thanks for watching my video, and until next time, adios.